Schultz, we are on, bro. And
Are we?
Yeah,
we
are.
Okay, all right. We are.
You look at me, you're like, are we? Yes, we are on. All right, dude, we got a lot to talk about, and we have all the time in the world.
Let's do it. I'm excited. A lot of time.
All right.
Let's break into the issues.
And dude, I want to know everything about you, and the viewers want to know everything about you because, dude, you've been killing it in the Cove. You've been killing it over in Millville. I hear about the parking thing. How you really, really worked to make sure that was kind of like nipped in the bud to where it wasn't I just hear that you're a fighter, and for somebody that is, because you just graduated from college last year, political science degree in Florida State University. And now you're getting out into the community. I think it's freaking great, man, because we don't have a lot of young people.
That's right.
You know what's really funny is I'm 34 and people were sitting there at the age of 33. I'm running for office and they're like, you're just too young. And I'm just like, dude, there's a 21-year-old out there. You're a little bit more, you're a little bit more well-spoken than I was.
Well,
but dude, run me through everything. Tell me about why you're running and just go with it.
Yeah. So my name is Daniel Shultz. I'm a lifelong resident of Panama City, and specifically of Ward 1 and the Cove. I have lived on Mercedes Avenue for my entire life over near Masalino Bayou. I went to Cherry Street Elementary School. Then I went to North Bay Haven for middle school and was not impressed. So we ended up back in public school for high school, Bay High School. I would not have wanted to go anywhere else. It was like my second home. And then after I graduated high school, I went to Gulf Coast State College and to Florida State University, where I got my AA at Gulf Coast, and then I got my bachelor's at Florida State, all on a complete Bright Futures full ride scholarship. So I was proud to leave college with no debt. Something that I can't say of many of my friends. In the process, I have a degree in political science. As I mentioned, I've been involved in and I've been studying politics my entire life. When I was in high school, I was really involved with the school board and different things with that. I was involved in community service as the president of Beta Club. I ran a fundraiser to fundraise $2,000 is what we raised for children at Cherry Street who got backpacks with food in it who were underprivileged. And that was something that I was incredibly proud of as well. Also in high school, me and my psychology teacher, Nathan Taylor, we started 850 Relief, which was a organization that we had in high school to combat Hurricane Laura, which had hit Louisiana. We were able, in the response of Hurricane Michael, we saw such an overwhelming amount of support from these surrounding areas who had also been hit by storms and such. And so we thought that it would be our duty to do the same for surrounding areas. So at that time, it was Hurricane Laura, and that had hit Louisiana. So we fundraised, I don't know the numbers, but we fundraised a few $1,000s, and then just a truckload of supplies. I mean, we had a U-Haul truck full to the brim of stuff that we took over there. It was unbelievable. Then after high school, as I mentioned, I spent time at Gulf Coast and Florida State in Tallahassee, where I spent time on the state level government scene. I saw lots of committees, spoke at many of them, and now my work for service and my need for service has transformed into city politics. This happened over the summer when the city was proposing a paid parking ordinance for downtown. So let's be clear. I want to say I'm not against paid parking, but specifically I'm against the deal that the city had cooked up for paid parking in Panama City, which was they wanted to partner with a private company, Premier Parking, who would have come in to manage the parking meters that they wanted on Harrison Avenue and all the side streets, all of the parallel spots. And this private company would have managed it and made 60% of the total profits from paid parking. So we would have had all of the assets, but they would have made more money than we would have made. This was just a horrible deal. And at the same time that we were having, we hadn't even started streetscapes yet, and we continue to take out spots in different places. I mean, over by McKenzie Park, they have connected the two parks, and that has taken out a whole bunch of spaces over there. So to say that we don't have a parking problem downtown, I think that we're teetering. And if we had put in parking meters at the same time that we were about to go forward with the streetscapes and all of that, business owners were just incredibly concerned with what that could do to their business long term. So I went door to door and spoke with business owners and talked with customers and people downtown about what they thought, of this proposal. And the response was overwhelming, that they were concerned about what could happen and the possible effects of paid parking for downtown. So I had private meetings with every single commissioner. I was told, not with Janice. Janice was out of town, but I met with Brian and Josh, and I communicated multiple times with Jenna, and was told over and over that that the paid parking was happening and that we needed to come forward with some type of concessions for what we would want to see. I refused. My constituents, the business owners, refused. We rallied. We made noise. We had flyers in almost every business on Harrison Avenue. We got media coverage, and we were able to turn out enough supporters at the meeting that every single commissioner who told me they would vote yes flipped their vote, and the entire board went 5-0 against paid parking, something that I was incredibly proud of. So when that happened, it occurred to me that Jenna Halligus, a friend of mine, was stepping down from her position that she's been in for 8 years. And the business owners were concerned about the possibility of having someone in there who doesn't listen to the business owners' needs for downtown. So I was asked point blank by several business owners if I had ever considered running for local office. And I had. Politics has been something that I have been interested in my entire life. And it seemed like now is the perfect time. So it was a real honor to be asked by members of your community who want an advocate on their side. And I was proud to be that advocate in paid parking. And I hope to be that advocate as commissioner.
All right, man. That was a heck of an intro.
That's a lot, I know.
Thank you for explaining the paid parking thing.
Yes.
Okay. We're going to calm down. We're going to bring it down to a conversational setting.
All right. Let's do it.
So, that was a lot. So, all right. Let's talk about that real quick because we talked a little bit about Harrison Avenue.
Okay.
Business development that's down there and things of that nature. I use that word a lot. Things of that nature. Anyway, I got to come up with something better to say. But, when it comes to the business downtown, do you think that the construction that's gone downtown has hurt business quite a bit, like over the past couple of years? You brought up Nathan Taylor.
Yeah.
I used to run CNG.
He's a good friend of mine. Yeah.
Dude, I love Nathan. That dude has to be one of the most loving, caring, most gentle people that I think I've ever met in my entire life.
Kidding, man.
And he talked about the business on Harrison Avenue, roads being torn up, and really hurt business down there.
Yeah.
Have you seen that?
Definitely. I mean, not that I'm against the progress that we're making. I mean, because I think that, with any type of progress, you will see some type of, problem in that process. I mean, there's no perfect solution. I mean, every decision that we make as public officials is a give and a take. And so the give is that we will have these beautiful streets and this public, access for decades to come. But the cost is that right now business owners will lose money, and that is absolutely happening. I mean, I'm a frequenter of Tom's Hot Dogs and The Place and several places in that block area, and yeah, they've absolutely seen a decrease in business. But thankfully, people of this area are resilient, and they are well aware of the problems that these business owners are facing. And so the regulars have been steadily coming in to these places, which is great to see. So it has absolutely caused a problem. I mean, there's a store towards the end of Harrison Avenue, towards the entrance where they just started the construction today. who she retired and left early so that she could be away from the streetscapes before they started. So there's absolutely a effect it has, but we just have to make sure that it happens timely, that we are continuing to push our businesses as the construction is happening, and that we make sure that everyone understands that it's temporary and the amazing outcome that will be once it's done.
So you are for the revitalized
Mhm.
changes that are going on in Panama City, and do you have any objections to how much it's cost?
Sure. I mean, if I had been in the position when some of the specifics of these decisions were made, like cobblestones versus asphalt or something of that nature, I might not have made all the same choices. But ultimately, it was grant money that was used to do infrastructure that was 60 or 70 years old that desperately needed it, and it has made our downtown much more walkable. And anybody who thinks it was a complete waste of money should just spend an afternoon on Harrison Avenue or spend an evening on that part of Harrison Avenue, because it's really amazing just how lively it is. I mean, we have businesses that are just slammed. I mean, I'm at Millie's a lot. That's one of my favorite spots, and they are always slammed on weeknights when there's music and things, and it's very, very alive down there. So certainly it was expensive, and I might not have made all the same cost choices, but ultimately the project was necessary, and yes, I would do it again in a heartbeat.
And so you do see the importance of utilizing grants then?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Yes.
Wow.
Grants and public-private partnerships are our future. If we want to develop, any type of area, the city doesn't have a lot of money to do that. So, Mr. Hughes said in our debate the other night, and he's right, that we are the largest landowner in the state of Florida, that our municipality owns more land than any other in the entire state. That's true. So we could be doing a lot with that for more public use, but the key to doing that is through grants or through public-private partnerships, because it cannot be expected of the city to have all of that money, because it just doesn't have it.
Well, I will say this though, and so this is kind of like my little bit of a push on you,
Mm-hmm.
is that the mayor doesn't see that way.
Right.
So I am going to ask you, how do you see yourself being up there on a dais with somebody that is so headstrong into being against these types of things, and then also calling you out
Right.
for being for them,
Right.
and might even a little bit of a humiliation factor that we've seen over the past 2 years?
Certainly. Yeah.
How do you think you're going to be able to handle something like that if elected?
Well, I think it starts with open communication. Definitely, Ron. I mean, we have to better communicate to the public just what's happening at City Hall. And I think Chestnut Avenue is a perfect example of that. There's been all this hype made around it, that we've paid too much, or that the property was possibly contaminated or something. But all of these are half-truths or misinformation, which has been just repeated over and over. And just because it's repeated over and over again.
What is the half truth? What is the
Well, we might have paid, $100,000 more, but the property was not contaminated. We went in and had the environmental checks and everything. If you ask me, what the problem was with Chestnut Avenue was not that we purchased the property. It was that we gave the city manager the authority to purchase it long before we ever checked into the environmental concerns or the cost analysis or anything of that. We have a city manager who brought it back to the board because he knew that our mayor was so concerned about this problem. He could have executed this sale at any time, because our board gave him the ability to negotiate that completely. Now, if you have a problem with Chestnut Avenue, that's where the problem needs to lie, is the fact that you gave him the authority to negotiate it. If you have a problem with the negotiating tactics of your city manager, well, then you should be negotiating it, not him. Does that make sense?
That makes complete and total sense. I was like, you stole words out of my mouth,
Yeah.
because that's what it seems like the issue was. Because
I did have a problem with it when it first came up, because it looked like the property might be contaminated.
Well, when it first came up, it was under Bridnicki and Mark McQueen. Jonathan Hayes had nothing to do with it. I know Josh Street was on the commission then too. But the way that this has been handled, we have watched an elected official, the mayor, that has got up in front of in public and has accused a former city manager, a former mayor, a sitting commissioner, and the current city manager. And and it goes back into my question earlier, and you I'm not saying that you didn't dance around it, but you did kind of say, oh, it's about communication. But I see something that happens up there on that board that is just is kind of beyond me, because I come from a little bit of a different background where it's easy to be direct. I disagree with how Josh Street has handled it. I disagree with how Jonathan Hayes has handled this, because they shouldn't have to listen to somebody accuse them without the proper without any. You have zero evidence other than you sit there and
it's just hearsay.
It's
really
say,
all hearsay.
I have a reliable source. Well, weirdo, we have reliable sources all the time that come up and say things, but if they're scared to put their name out there, it probably isn't true.
Right.
So the thing about it is, so my question to you, and I'm gonna go back to what I said earlier.
Please do, yeah.
How are you gonna be, if elected? How are you going to sit up there on a board? Like, how are you going to handle these types of situations? Are you going to be as calm and collected as this? Because somebody needs to, they need to make this mayor, they need to make him eat his own words. Like, he needs to stop publicly humiliating people and making our city look bad without any proof. So as somebody who's coming in, who's going to be coming on the commission, because we were looking at the numbers earlier. It looks like you're doing pretty damn good.
Well, thank you very much.
So, but the thing about it is how are you going to be able to, and I promise you, dude,
no, I completely,
like all the questions I'm going to have you, like if you want the generic questions that are going to be like, oh, why are you running or whatever? Like, dude, this isn't the podcast for that.
No,
like,
I understand.
I want to get into this type of stuff because I want to know you as a person.
Absolutely.
So how are you going to handle this type of behavior?
Well, there will never be a time where Daniel Shultz will ever be wrapped up in any corruption. I could just assure you of that. I am a, grassroots candidate who has been a local my entire life, and I am dedicated to bettering this community. I wasn't asked to run. I chose to run. I was asked by business owners, not by any, outside interest or any, institutional types or anything like that. In terms of how I would respond, I would call him out on it. If I was accused of something that was not true, then I would make damn sure that everyone knew exactly what was happening. I mean, the combativeness from one sometimes has to be met with a sense of, I won't stand for this. You have to stand up. I'm a big Sly Stone fan. This is completely off topic. Sly and the Family Stone, they were a great band. And they have a song called Stand, and Sly says, "Stand. In the end, you'll still be you. One that's done all of the things you set out to do." And that's the way I feel, is that if you stand for what's right and you stand for what you believe in and you stay true to yourself, that in the end, you'll still recognize yourself, which is, all too often that doesn't happen. But, I would be very, very forceful in my communication techniques to explain to the public exactly what was happening if that, instance were to ever happen.
Good. Well, now that we're off the childish topics, I'll get on to the next thing. So, fiscal responsibility was one of the biggest things that you were kind of talking about.
Definitely.
What are some things that you're going to be able to bring to the table to make sure that we're keeping the budget right and things of that nature? Obviously, You're for grants, which I think is great. I think we should utilize it. You know, I think if we talk about fiscal responsibility, one of the main things that's really coming up right now is the fact that the Beach Drive project, we talk about reallocating funds, how that's supposed to be, you know, taking over responsibility for where tax dollars are going. So we can kind of run it into that, but let's try to find a way to
Sure.
wrap that
Yeah,
into that.
absolutely.
So let's talk
Absolutely.
about your plan for being responsible
For
with taxpayers'
spending
dollars.
and how to reduce it. So, if you take a look at our budgets for Panama City since 2020, they have grown substantially since 2020. Now, in that time, I would ask, has our local government become more efficient? And the answer that I would say is absolutely not. We raise, we spend a significant amount of money. And at the same time, in the past year, we have conflicting reports from our treasurer and from our city manager. So if you speak with the city manager, she has been messaging for months that we're broke or that we are, financially unstable,
No, we got a lot of money. Well, Panama City's got a lot of money.
That's my point, right?
Yeah.
But then when you speak with the city manager, he says, "Well, actually, we're not broke. It's all just kind of it's some's over here and some's over there." And this is a lot of these problems will come back to communication, because this is another one. Our treasurer needs to recognize that she's also a public official and not just a accountant. And the way that she speaks to the public and the way that she communicates with the public should be far better. But in terms of our spending, she says that we are living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, and that if we spend every dollar amount that we have budgeted for the fiscal year, that at the end of the year that we will have no money. That will be, it. Okay, now some would say that that's not broke. I would call that broke. Okay, if I lived paycheck to paycheck, which I have before, I'm sure that you have, many of us have, that's broke. Okay, and if we are depleting our reserves in the process, that's something to be concerned about. Now, I understand that we are a city in recovery, and we haven't had a strong amount of reserves in many years, but the spending that we have, the fire assessment is a perfect example. We bring in $6 million from that. That $6 million just goes into the general fund. It's not tracked. It's not monitored. It's spent along with every thing else. If you try to get a line item budget for our city, you can't get one. I have a friend who's been trying forever, and she hasn't been able to get one from City Hall. Our budget is incredibly complicated, and we spend a lot of money on stuff like consultants coming in to tell us what's wrong with a problem, or how to fix a problem, or how to handle a problem. Whereas, in my opinion, I think that we could do a lot more planning in-house, do a lot more work in-house, and use our city staff to its full capabilities. Since 2020, we have increased spending, and a large proportion of that goes to City Hall. But at the same time, we've also allowed a large proportion of that to slip in with these outside interests to come in and try to manage these problems for us. So we should be using our city staff to its full capabilities. A perfect example of this. Back in October, it was brought up that citizens in Sweet Bay, Brian had brought it up, were paying, or we're getting extremely high water bills that were not from their usage, bills over $1,000 or more for houses that should have a bill of $200 or $300. Then when they would come to the city and said, hey, listen, this isn't right, obviously there's some type of a problem here. City Hall's response was, okay, we'll open a case and look at it, but you still have to pay that, or we're going to turn your water off. That's unacceptable. The reason why these people were being overcharged is because we were and are estimating water meters that we cannot read. So old meters that cannot be read are being estimated. So how do you estimate water usage? You estimate it with any amount of water that passes through the meter is assigned to the customer. So that's how these people got these incredibly high bills. And did you know that the city of Panama City doesn't have a water department? It falls under underground utilities. So when this was brought up to the commission, Jonathan Hayes and the city's response was to say, well, we already have this consulting firm on retainer, Rayburn Consulting. They're going to come in and they're going to handle all this, and we should have all of the water meter problems fixed. And I'm not sure if they're replacing meters or what, but they were supposed to come in and handle it, and it was said to be finished by February or March of this year. February or March from October. Okay, again, unacceptable. These types of problems could be solved a lot quicker if we maximized our in-house capabilities. And it's clear that these outside consultants are not doing as good of a job as we pay them to do. So I truly believe that our city staff is incredible, and I think that we could do a lot more in-house. And that's just one example of how we allow that. Paid parking is another.
Yeah, for the fiscal responsibility aspect. Cool. So let's talk.
Beach Drive, yeah.
Well, actually, no. You hit a little bit. You hit a little bit on the fire tax.
Okay, yeah. Let's go to that. I'd be happy to.
Let's go.
The fire tax is something that I want to get rid of. Now let's talk specifics about it, though. This fire assessment was added in 2020 to counter COVID and the loss of revenue that we had in 2020. So the state allows you to take for so many fire assessments per year. So what we do is, but to my knowledge, it doesn't account for what you do with that, or there's some type of a loophole where you're able to take in a fire assessment, which we take in about $6 million. We put that $6 million in the fire fund, and then the $6 million from the fire fund that's generated from taxes is then moved into the general fund. So $6 million that is supposed to be, connected to a fire assessment tax doesn't really have a lot to do with fire assessment at all. It goes into the general fund. It's targeting nonprofits. So, as you're well aware, I'm sure you're not allowed to tax a nonprofit. The IRS doesn't tax churches or organizations or, things of that nature. But the fire assessment is not a tax technically. So they're able to assess whoever owns property. The other day I was in Millville and met a gentleman who was charged for a empty lot, next to his house, $500. He was charged $500 for a separate assessment from his home to this vacant lot. So it's a financial stimulant that prior to 2020 we did not have, and we could easily return to a budget where we don't. It will take time. It's a stimulant. You can't just draw out $6 million out of the fund and just expect it to just fix itself. It would have to be done over a term. But in my term, that would be something that I would want to do. Absolutely.
Yes, pretty much wraps it up on the fire tax.
That's pretty much it right there. Yeah.
I think I learned more about the fire tax having you on and explaining it than I have from anybody else.
Very simple. I mean, it's a big shell game. That's all it is.
Yeah, everybody is kind of funny because before I brought that up, you're like, yeah, Beach Drive. Let's talk about Beach Drive. Everybody wants to talk about Beach Drive.
We're talking about whatever you want to talk about.
Beach Drive seems to be like the topic.
But Ron, I just have to say though, I'm proud to be the most open candidate in this race. You can Google my name and you can see where I stand on every single one of these issues. I'm happy that you've had me on so we can have them all in one place, but it's already all out there. You can Google my name and find where I stand on everything, something that you cannot say of my opponents.
Now let's see here. That is let's see. It's Daniel.
VoteSchultz.com.
VoteSchultz.com.
That's right.
And we'll throw it up on the screen for you when
awesome.
we do it. Oh, yeah, man. Go ahead and bring it up so we can. While he's bringing that up, I'll go ahead and move to the Martin Theater, man.
Sure, absolutely.
Jeez. Well, yeah, because I kind of want to stay on stuff in your ward.
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
A lot of these guys that have been coming on here lately, they've been talking about the huge city as a whole. But I kind of like, what are some
focus on Ward 1.
What are some improvements before we get on the Martin Theater, before we get on before we get on the Marina, before we get on Beach Drive? What are some things that you want to accomplish in your ward within your first term?
Citizen oversight is a huge one. I think that we should have a citizen oversight committee for the budget. Definitely, it was brought up not too long ago whether or not we should have citizen oversight committees for, like, we have one right now for parks to look at all of our parks and to reduce the amount by 30% or something like that. We also have another one for Watson Bayou to establish a team to look at that or and the quality of the water. Our treasurer was adamantly opposed, as she thought that it was a increased financial burden and that we already have so many boards and da. So I would love to see that list that she presented of all of the current boards, and I would go down and see which ones are we using and which ones are we not. And I believe there are ways that we can add more boards without adding to the budget. I mean, there are plenty of areas downtown or local churches or places that would absolutely volunteer to let the city use their facilities for a meeting once a month for citizens or for something of that nature. And I think that citizen oversight committees, especially on the budget, are incredibly important. With the national issues, and we had spoken about this kind of, you can Google it until your head spins. But with these local issues, the only two forms of research that we have comes from city staff and their opinion, and it comes from our local media. But it's hard to find research. So if we had a citizen oversight committee on the budget to make recommendations alongside city staff, then it would allow for an extra vein of transparency and an extra vein of opinion to come from someone other than our city. Oftentimes I think what happens is people get elected and they only stay in their circles. Having citizen oversight committees makes sure that you are still plugged in with your area and that you're still involved. So that would be absolutely a top priority of mine.
All right, cool. There we go. All right, back for a
quick coffee break.
Swear to God, it wasn't you, man. It was me. Freaking. All right.
Good cup of Joe.
I have to have coffee, man. Especially with y'all's races that are going on right now. Like, I was up till about probably 11:30 last night. The night before, I was up till about 2 a.m. The night before that, I was up till about 3:30. So I've been trying to push y'all's episodes out the most. And
right.
Look, man, you're not paying me.
We thank you for what you do. Yeah, I appreciate you very much. You're not paying me, or no, you just asked me to be on, so I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Anyway, man. So, all right. We were on the Martin Theater.
I think that's where we were.
Martin Theater. All right. So this huge controversy that's going on right now about back and forth between the Marina Civic Center and the Martin Theater. And I listened to all these people. I just heard an interview that the mayor did yesterday before the meeting, with just another person trying to get their start in podcasting. And one of the things that they were talking about was like, oh my God, it's so horrible that we don't have a marina anymore. And I can't believe blah, 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 blah. Now they bought the Martin Theater. And I'm going, the Civic Center, I don't know what your stance is. So this might be a good chance for us to have a talk. But I think the Civic Center was a dying thing anyway. This whole aspect, like on this interview, I heard so much nonsense that was just complete and utter bullshit. You're going to sit there and you're going to say, we've been brought in so many good supporting performances, and no, they haven't. Like the Marina Civic Center, and listen, I grew up here my entire life. I think I can count on one hand how many times I frequented that place because there was nothing that was going on.
Right.
I don't think it was that big of a loss losing the Civic Center. Is it a tragedy? Could we have had more performances there? That's great. But mainly the only thing that it attracted was B-rated performances, and then high schools that would come and do performances there, which they don't need it anymore. Bay High has their own performing arts thing now. Freaking Mosley has their own performing arts. Arnold has their own performing arts. Like these buildings that they have, they can do all their performances in there. There was no reason to have the Civic Center anyway.
Right.
So buying the Martin Theater and replenishing it. It's like $32 million. Do I have that right?
I think so, yeah.
So $32 million versus how much was it going to cost to build? They said a stat yesterday, and it was 100% false. It was like, oh yeah, they could have rebuilt the Civic Center back to its original standing for $32 million. No, they couldn't have. That's impossible. It wasn't going to happen.
And even if we did build it back to its original standing, there were many, many improvements that needed to be made on the building itself. I mean, my mom worked at the Civic Center for many years. And you're exactly right. I mean, there was a time where there was a heyday where we got some really good acts, and it was neat. But you're exactly right. I mean, through mismanagement through our city and through different things, it wasn't super profitable. And
do you know how many civic centers there are through the United States that are actually profitable, that turn a profit?
Yeah, not many.
I think there's like 2.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Performing arts centers just do not make a profit. You're exactly right.
Yeah.
So in terms of replacing it, the mandate that I have heard from the public over and over again is that they want a amphitheater on the Marina, and then
did you see all the referendums on it?
The potential ones, yeah, yes, I did.
The potential ones, no, we pulled them up the other night. Like we pulled up what's going to be the non-binding referendums that are on them
for Beach Drive or for
the Civic Center.
There is
stuff.
no that's not on there. That it was considered to be put on there, but there's no.
Okay,
I'm telling
we're
you,
gonna pull it up.
I got my sample ballot and it ain't on there. So
well, hold on. So let's pull up the non-binding referendums
please
because
do,
there's a couple of them. Now it's about. So hold on. So let me.
There is a referendum on Beach Drive.
Let me change. Let me change what I said about there being a non-binding referendum for a civic center. It was for the amphitheater stuff.
Okay.
But there are several different ones that are on there, and we looked at them with Demetrius Reese, and he was surprised. He was like, dang, I didn't know that there was all these non-binding referendums. So you already got a sample ballot?
Yes.
And none of that stuff is on there?
Okay, so there might be a bit of confusion here. So this was proposed to put all of those on there in addition to the Beach Drive one several months ago at a meeting. I was at that meeting, and they decided to not waste the public's time on asking about an amphitheater, a civic center, or anything of that nature. So it's not on the ballot. Yeah.
Okay, so what we were looking at isn't going to be on the ballot?
My sample ballot
I got a question about that.
Yeah,
How
sure.
do you feel about that?
About what?
Not putting that stuff on the ballot.
I would agree. I mean, it's just a waste of time.
They're already sitting there. They're already voting. How is it a waste of time?
It leaves a bad taste in people's mouth to put all of these non-binding referendums on there, and then the commission comes back and does probably the opposite of what a lot of those are said. So it leaves room.
You can't come back and do the opposite of what the non-binding referendum says.
Well, that's.
Because then people are going to know that you're a dirty politician that doesn't care what they want.
Exactly, which is why that I have pledged for the Beach Drive path that whatever happens with the referendum, that I will support the will of the public. However, I make no buts about it that I'm a proud supporter of the project. But you're exactly right. In terms of the court of public opinion and the court of public trust, a non-binding referendum does tie your hands, and I wouldn't want to go against what the citizens want if that's what they choose to vote for. I think
non-binding referendums are the best thing that you could ever do for the public because, like I said, I mean...
But for something like a amphitheater or a civic center, I don't need a referendum to tell me what my ward wants. I know what my ward wants. I've spoken with constituents regularly, and I'm telling you, the mandate that you hear over and over again, we want an indoor facility and we want an outdoor facility. Now, an indoor facility...
so when you say you know what your ward wants,
yes,
you're
sir.
saying that you know what the majority wants.
Yes, I would say so, absolutely.
Because there probably are people in there that do have difference of opinions. So
absolutely.
So what you're saying is you would want to be responsible for the fact of, I'm not going to waste anybody's time. I'm not going to put this on a ballot because I just know based on what I've seen, what people are going to want and what people aren't going to want.
Also, the odds of us getting an indoor facility, it almost certainly will not happen.
No, it doesn't need to happen.
Right, that's my point.
Yeah,
right.
no, I'm with you on that. But I'm also... I'm not playing the devil's advocate. It's more of like a gray area.
Yeah,
thing
no, I know what you mean.
I know, like being in politics as being like a politician, and you say like, well, I know what the people want, but at the same time, it's like this whole amphitheater idea, I think it's the dumbest thing that you could possibly ever do.
Tell me why.
Okay, so Ed Young brought up some really.
It's hot, right? I've heard.
It's hot, and down by the marina, dude, we don't have trees anymore.
So let me
dude,
just.
it's windy.
It is.
And then on top of that, like, we live in Florida, it's all the time raining. You know, a venue that you might schedule 6 months out from now to do something down there, it might get rained out, and then the city pays money to have a lot of these things happen. So if you pay, just for example, Foreigner used to come here into the Marina Civic Center. Remember I said B-list bands used to come here all the time?
My mom saw Travis Tritt at the Marina Civic Center, so yeah.
I mean, it's just like, Travis Tritt's pretty good.
He is pretty cool. I like
anyway,
Travis Tritt. But he is kind of a, he's not A-list. He's not A-list
anymore.
You know?
But the thing about it is if you're scheduling something like that, we'll say a year out, and you know it comes time for this guy to like do his thing over a weekend, and it's just rained out, or we got a hurricane, or we got something going on. Now the city still owes that money to that. Isn't that how it works? They still owe money to that person that was coming to put on a performance.
It depends on the deal that you know and who runs the theater and all of that. But okay, have you ever been to Jacksonville? Have you ever been to Daly's place over there? Have you ever heard of that place? That's an amphitheater that's attached to their stadium over there. I saw Santana there a few years ago. Yeah. And how it is set up is you have a stage and it's covered. So you have a covering that comes over and the walls on the side are open. So if it were to rain, there's a chance it could blow in, obviously, but you're much more protected from the weather and such.
So these were the ones. I'm sorry, man. Go ahead and finish saying what you're saying.
These are the potential ones. Yeah, but so we went and it was hot, but it was August, and it was not unbearable as Mr. Young has mentioned. You know, we can look at it, but the current designs that they have put out for the amphitheater,
they're gonna have like those big
are not realistic. Yeah, they haven't programmed any parking in the plan at all. There's no type. So I mean, what we're looking at right now are just nice ideas. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we have not gotten into the meat and potatoes of it at all. And I am, more focused on getting the marina operational. Before we focus on whatever type of public-private partnership we want to see for an amphitheater.
So when you say that you want it to be operational, though, explain what that means.
You want
slips?
Yes, I want slips, absolutely. So there's a question that has kind of come up, of should the public own a marina? Or should a government municipality own a marina, own and operate it? And what I should say is, what I would say on that is, typically, no. Would I advise a city municipality to go out and purchase a marina in hopes of making a profit? Absolutely not. I mean, that would just be a horrible idea. But guess what? We already have this asset, okay? We've had it for years. It's a beautiful asset. It is just, when I look out at the marina, I see money. I see dollar signs. I see an amazing opportunity for the people of this area to have an asset that they hold close to them that is both for public good and for public use also. I want to see slips. I want to see modest slips. I don't want to see slips for yachts. There's been talk that the previous marina didn't make any money. And at a time, yeah, that was true. But it is my opinion that it was because of mismanagement. I have spoken with the former operator of the city marina, and there were times that she has straight up told me that yes, we absolutely made money, and for many years it was slammed. They had a waiting list for boats. So to say that the marina couldn't turn us a profit is just not true. I mean, I really do think that that we could absolutely turn a profit on it. So to reopen it, as we've talked about the Martin, they've moved the money from the marina to the Martin, so there's no money set aside to rebuild the marina now. So really, our only partnership, our only option will have to be a public-private partnership, so that we can develop the slips back and
Well, I'll tell you what,
put them back.
Let's do this real quick.
Sure.
Kendall, can you switch to a different screen and look up what is the most profitable marina in the state of Florida, as far as monetized value goes? So when you say mismanagement, so this is the issue that I have with it. Government has no business managing a marina,
Right.
In my opinion.
Sure.
So even if you're saying that mismanagement, I mean, even hiring a company out, if we have this huge asset that's there, so this is the reason why, because you're getting, when a government owns something like a marina, you're getting into privatization. Like there's other private entities that own marinas that are here in the area, right? So what happens is these, and I don't know if you've ever seen prices of, do you own a boat?
I don't own a boat.
Okay,
no.
so if you own a boat,
Spent a lot of times on them over the years, but no.
and most of the people that own boats will understand this. And to have wet slips of boats, it actually costs a lot of money. Do you know what the average price was to rent out a slip from the Panama City Marina?
No, tell me.
I don't know.
No, I don't know.
I was kind of hoping you
no,
were
I don't
gonna
know either. No, but
so-
it changed over the years. That's also part of the problem as well, because it was under different types of management over the years. So
But
based
when
on
they were
who
in
you talk
competition,
to,
there you were put on a waiting list. I
Yes.
think you had said
Yes.
that. But the issue with it is it's subsidy. But there were people that didn't even live in the city limits that had slips there. Now, if you meant mismanagement by that, I agree with you 100%.
that's another example of mismanagement. Absolutely, yes.
Like if you live in Lynn Haven, you have no business having a boat that is in the Panama City Marina because your tax dollars ad valorem doesn't go towards managing that marina or anything like that.
Sure, absolutely.
So you need to take your boat and you need to go find somewhere else to go.
And I think that can lead to a great opportunity to add benefits to locals to keep it local.
But we had people from Alabama that had slips here.
I have heard that, yes.
Like no joke.
Right.
In fact, Alan Branch, I'd have to go back into his
And there were a
episode.
lot of people in the Cove at the time who were on the wait list.
Yeah.
So we were allowing people from out of area to
Alan
take
went over
priority.
the exact percentage of how many people that from Panama City actually had slips there. And I don't want to quote him. You'd have to go back in the episode. I think it was like 20%
Yeah, it's not
or
many.
something.
Yeah,
It was like,
it's not many.
dude, why are we
But
giving...
again, I think that's mismanagement. That's just poor management. And that's not a sign that it cannot be done. It's a sign that it hasn't been done.
But there's also a false narrative that's going on out there right now that's coming in from the mayor, which is stating that, FEMA said that they were going to come in and they were going to, pay for all this different things. The reason why they didn't do it is because they were scared of a clawback.
Yeah,
which you knew
right.
about this,
Yes,
right? Yeah. So, and we had to build the marina
I can
back
tell you this though,
to the same code that it was in the 1960s.
that's not true either. The marina was mostly rebuilt in the 90s. We went back in and redid all of the rewiring, the docks, to my knowledge. Okay, so if we were rebuilding it, it was to the standards of when it was rebuilt in the 90s. That is another common misconception I've heard, is that it was a 1960s marina. Well, I remember a revitalization process that went through in the 90s. Now, I don't know what the exact standards that were set by FEMA for rebuilding it, but if we're afraid of a clawback...
Well, if what you're saying is true, everything that I have been told, you just rocked my world.
Well, to my knowledge, the wiring at least went through a update in the 90s. Now, I could be totally wrong. I don't know.
No, you might be.
But that's what I have heard from
Where can
locals who have lived here.
If a viewer wanted to look this stuff up, though, where do they go?
That's my point. It's like, I don't exactly know. I mean, you can make a lot of public records requests with Jonathan Hayes and with the city. They're very responsive. But again, depending on what you're asking about, you might get a quicker response than others, and and they don't have all the answers either. So it's I don't know. You just you have to talk with people who were here and who were operating it and who witnessed things and assess from different areas, I suppose.
Yeah. Dude, I got to do some research on that now because you just threw a wrench in my fire.
Because and you were exactly right. The mayor is wrong in that FEMA would not have rebuilt the entire marina back 100%. That is not how it went. They would have come in and rebuilt the slips, is to my knowledge. They would have come in and put the slips back how they were in the 60s. But as I just said,
Yeah, there were upgrades that happened.
might
back
have been in the 90s. Yeah, right. So,
if what you're saying is true,
that might have been
then
a
there
better
wouldn't be
deal.
a reason. But if they
know?
did bring back the slips, you would have to work out the policy to where it's like you have to be a citizen of
Yes,
Panama
absolutely.
City, Florida to do it. I don't know if you can do that.
I don't know
know
either.
if it's-
You'd have to look into it, but I think that you could certainly try to push for some, financial benefit for locals. I'm sure that that's a policy that's done. I mean, when we were looking at paid parking, that was something else that I suggested was, okay, well, if we have it, could we at least have like free periods for locals or free for locals, period? Because the idea for that.
Did you say free?
Yeah, free parking for locals.
Free parking.
Yeah, no, not slips. Yeah, no, not
Dude, I was
slips.
about to be
No,
like,
no.
You are
no.
crazy.
But they weren't interested in giving any benefits to locals. And the point of turnover, people who come from out of town, they'll pay to park. They don't mind. When I'm traveling, I've been out of
pay for
town.
parking
I don't
everywhere.
care at all. Because I'm in a hurry, I'll slip in. And when I'm on vacation, I've programmed that. Hey, I might have to pay a little bit here. I might have to pay a little bit there.
Yeah.
But if I'm a local who's on Harrison Avenue every other night, which by the way I am,
Yeah.
I'm not paying for parking on Harrison Avenue. I mean, you can just, it's just not happening. It's just not happening.
I got you. All right, let's go over this non-binding
Let's do it,
referendum
yeah.
real quick because we kind of, and so you're saying that all those other non-binding
This
referendums.
is the only one on here.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
And
So
let's
my
Make sure it's
apologies-
the right wording as well.
my
because,
apologies to Demetrius Reese because I gave him hell about not knowing what was on there, and so that was my fault. This is a huge controversy right now, and the reason why it's a huge controversy
Okay.
is because
this is not the current wording of the referendum.
really,
No. And the reason why this was edited, they struck beautify.
this was as of April 20. Or no, sorry. Kendall, what's the date on this thing? I don't think we know. So what they
February.
Yeah, this was a February. So they changed it again since February?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Oh.
It is the only, and I can actually, if you want, I can actually show you my sample ballot here. It's got just 3 things on it. It's got mayor, me, and the referendum.
Okay. Cool. I'm actually anxious to do this. So again, apologies to Demetrius because we went over the wrong stuff.
Yeah, we don't live over there, so we can't get a sample ballot.
Yeah.
I tried.
That's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's all right.
Because you got this from the city website too, didn't you?
Here it is right here.
PanamaCity.gov, yes.
Yeah. So wait a second. So this is what they're putting out on PanamaCity.gov. They're not even putting out the right one.
There it is right there, brother.
Well, I mean, there's a difference.
All right, cool. Let's go over this real quick because
Sure,
this
be happy
thing
to.
is a huge controversy right
Let's
now.
do it.
Because it's like, oh, it's worded and it's trick questions.
I disagree. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
well, based on what I read
Yeah.
a couple days ago, I disagreed with it. All right, so let's see here. Should the city of Panama City use state funding to make pedestrian improvements on Beach Drive and to make stormwater and environmental improvements on Beach Drive within the publicly owned right-of-way with the understanding that these funds are restricted and cannot be used for any other purpose or location in the city? I don't understand how this is a problem. Can you explain it?
What is a problem?
How
The
is
wording?
the wording a problem?
I don't have a problem with it
I
at
think
all.
you would have to be an illiterate to get this wrong.
I
Sorry.
think that it's very, very clear, and it does exactly what it says. So let's just take it,
Yeah, one sentence at a time, dude.
one
You do it.
sentence at a time. Should the city of Panama City use state funding, and then it has the grant number, which is specific to this grant. It cannot be repurposed, and we will speak about that also. But to make pedestrian improvements, so it's about adding a walking path to make it safer for pedestrians to walk down Beach Drive. It does that, okay? To make storm water and environmental improvements, it adds base savers in the drainage that is on Beach Drive that will collect all of the oil and sediment and things that are currently run off into the bay. It will catch all of that and sort all of it and stop a lot of this runoff of pollution into the bay. So it does that.
Let's talk about that real quick.
Let's
take it one sentence at a time.
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so the Bay Savers, there's a huge argument that's going on right now. That's like, oh, the Bay Savers aren't going to do anything. They don't catch anything. How familiar are you with Bay Savers?
Pretty new. Actually, I didn't, really know a lot about them until
Can we look up Bay Savers real
this
quick
project
on YouTube?
But I've learned a lot about them in the process of this project, and how they sort. They're massive. Have you ever seen one? City Hall had one on display.
Yeah, when I went and I looked at the path, because they had all the different
plans at City Hall.
They had all the different like plans, like, oh, do you want 1, 3, or 5? You know,
Right.
it's like,
Yeah.
whatever. But when I was up there, I saw the Bay Savers. Yeah, they are massive.
They are massive. Yeah.
There's supposed to be 17 of them across the path. Are they going to go underneath the path? Yeah.
Yes, I believe it's underground infrastructure. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, dude, do not call me sir, bro. First of all, I'm not old enough, and second of all, like, I actually have a job.
I just can't. I just can't help it. I was raised, Southern household. Just how it goes.
I do the same thing, and I have guys. I call people that are younger than me sir. Sometimes it's kind of funny, but
So, what's the big controversy on the Bay Savers?
oh, well, there are.
Because I haven't heard this.
There are several shows. There are several pages. Even one of the pages that we were talking about earlier that are like completely against this stuff, saying that it's not good for environmental protection at all. It's not good for keeping the bays clean. It's not going to help with anything. But it's got to be better than what we have right now.
That's what I was about to say. It's like, well, if the solution is to leave it how it is, all of that sediment, all that oil, all of that trash that ends up in the drains.
I don't really think that they're catching that, because even if you look at the film net, and that's the reason why I had them look it up.
Right.
Like how efficient are these things?
Yeah.
And then how often do they need to be cleaned out?
Right.
How often do they need to be cleaned out?
What's the maintenance look like?
What's the maintenance look like? Because that is something that who's this guy that got up there, and I appreciate it when you have citizens that want to get involved. I don't appreciate it when they get downright nasty with public officials that take time out of their week and days to be able to
and life
and to work for the city. So elected officials, they do a lot, man. If you get elected, you're going to be doing a lot.
Yeah.
But to have a citizen that shows up and then just yells at somebody across the room and screams at them, it's like,
and it happens
I
often.
got better things to do with my time than to listen to your freaking boomer mouth. So, but anyway, this gentleman that came out to the meeting last night, where was I going with this? He brought up something that was actually a good point. He said there's no plan of maintaining the path. And I agree with him on that. I don't agree with his approach. I agree with him because the sidewalk that is there right now is eroding. It's definitely got problems. There's roots that are growing up on it. And
you mean the sidewalk on
Beach Drive
on the
north side?
Okay.
So as of right now, my question, and again, I don't really live in Panama City. My parents do, but my parents' tax dollars are going towards maintaining that sidewalk. You can't maintain a sidewalk, but yet you're going to build a new one. So what is your plan? And whenever I've asked somebody, what is the maintenance going to look at this? What is the overall maintenance plan for this? People shrug their shoulders. They don't have that.
Right.
Why would you go through all of the effort and the trouble to go through engineering costs and to have this thing written up without a maintenance plan?
I do agree with that. Yeah.
How many people is it going to take? I'm sorry. Go
I
ahead.
don't think that we plan enough for maintenance. And even though I am supportive of this project, that is something that I'm concerned of, about the long term of what it could look like. But in terms of the benefits of the project, I mean, long term trees are a huge one. We're taking out a lot of trees, but most of them are dead. manipulated, warped from the hurricane. Bay savers. Oh, here we go.
Let's see here. Bay saver conservation technology to potentially be installed
West Beach Drive. Yeah.
on West Beach Drive. Cool. Wow, this is cool.
A back truck will periodically clean the tanks when they're full.
Okay.
There are already 35 of these located throughout Panama City, and this initiative would install 17 more along West Beach Drive.
Yeah. So why we don't already have them there, I don't understand.
Multi-use pathway is approved.
We're not just doing a sidewalk project or a multi-use project. This is greater than that. We're doing much more improvements to the environment.
That's the Bay saver there
Wow.
behind him. It's gigantic.
You have a 12-foot facility underground. The only thing you'll see
That's it. Yeah.
is a manhole and a drainage inlet. So we're not just doing the bay saver installations. We're doing a turn-down curb. That was it.
Why is
Cool.
this a bad thing?
Turn down curb. Let him play that part about the turn down curb.
So it's
tur-
going to help with
So the
erosion?
turn down curb is right up against the dirt there. Instead of just having like a normal concrete piece that butts up against the dirt, it goes underground and goes all the way and goes flat. I'm pretty sure in like hooks almost to prevent long-term erosion. Again, I'm not a scientist, so or an engineer, so I don't know all of the ins and outs of it.
I mean, it sounds like what I just heard.
But again, we already have these space savers at places all over town, and
do we? Where?
that's what he just said.
Oh.
I don't know where, but we apparently have them already. Base savers are a common use here in Panama City, so why we haven't put them on such an important piece of land, which is Beach Drive. Even if we don't have a path, I mean, base
Well, I
savers
didn't
should
even
be
know
a good
this.
idea.
Do you know the history of Beach Drive? First of all, it wasn't even
A little
called,
bit,
it wasn't
very
even-
minor.
It wasn't even called Beach Drive originally. I can't remember the name of it. I have to look it up.
There was a gentleman who told me that about the settlers and how they had just the immense coastline was what drew them to this area. Was the Beach Drive, coastline and that whole, the Ward 1 area.
So 1914, Beach Drive was called something completely different, and it didn't even have a beach.
Wow.
The water came up to like the actual near the road.
Wow. I didn't know that.
Hold on, I got a
Wow.
picture. I got a picture for you. This
That's
is crazy.
awesome. Please
Did
show
I
me,
did I
yeah.
send you the picture? Yeah. Let me I'll show you this, and he's gonna pull it up. But it's actually crazy. So this picture right here. This right
Is this
here.
the one from the historians?
Yeah. This picture right here. You see where that car is?
Yeah.
That's the road. There's nothing on the other side. That is literally the water that came up. Now that picture was taken in 1914, right? So there was no beach that was there. So what happened was, that might be 1912. 1914 is when I think they came up with there was an ice house.
1912, I think, is around when it was incorporated, Panama City. 1912.
Yeah, you might be right. So my dates might be a little off.
No, I understand.
But then there was an ice house. So Landmark Apartments, if I have this right, so bear with me.
I understand.
I believe it was where Landmark Apartments is, or it was where the Buccaneer was. It's
Okay.
either one or the other. I can't remember whatever side Beach Drive was, but there was an ice house that needed to be there. So so these boats would come in with their fish and everything, and I think they were coming back and forth. Tampa had something to do with it, with the documentation that I have.
Right.
So what they did was they had to dredge for the boats that were coming in. So the dredge project is what gave us a beach there.
Wow. I didn't
So
know
the
that.
property line that everybody wants to talk about,
Yeah.
taking property.
Yeah.
Shut up. No, they're not.
It's not- yeah, it's not private
the
property either.
original
Yeah.
property that was there,
Right.
the property that's there now where they're putting a path, was where the freaking water came up. So I mean,
I didn't know that, yeah.
was water there at
Yeah.
one point in time, and everybody keeps trying to act like they're taking property. They're not taking
Yeah.
property from anybody.
So let's talk about that also. So, there is no taking of public property, of private property whatsoever.
I know.
And let me clarify a statement that I made the other night in the debate. So, I misspoke and said that it was a city-owned road. I meant state-owned road. I am very well aware that it is a state-owned road. and then FDOT has to grant us access to do this path.
No, they don't.
Well,
No, they do not. Well, I mean, sorry. I might be wrong. I don't think I am, because this has been a debated topic for a while. And I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
no, you're good. You're
Because
good.
this is
But
a
I know what
common-
you. Yes,
This
I
is
know
a
what you're
common
talking about.
argument
No, I
that is
know.
being, that is being brought up right now, where it's like, oh, the
If they don't hand it
FDOT
over, the project is dead. It's not.
Jonathan
Yes.
Hayes already said we do not need the road to put
I had a
in the
meeting
path.
with Jonathan Hayes just about 2 weeks ago.
He's coming on tomorrow.
And we talked about this exact issue.
Yeah.
And he told me face to face, he said, no. He said, if they don't hand it over, what we do is we submit our plans to them, and they will review them, and they will modify them if need be, and then they will approve them and send them back, which is something that is done across the state all the time for right-of-ways. And then we will go forward with the project. But even if they don't give away the right-of-way, we still own enough of a section that we can put in just a smaller path, which is what I'm sure he'll explain that when he's on.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
But yeah, that's the reason why, like, there's so much misinformation out there that is being spread around,
and the City Hall with this project, kind of went backwards on it. Instead of asking for the approval of FDOT first, we got the grant, and then we have planned it and gone through this entire process before. I've seen that picture. That's
Yeah,
a
you've seen
beautiful
that?
picture. Yeah.
like that right there.
Isn't that gorgeous?
Dude, if Beach Drive looked like that now,
Yeah, man.
why? And my thing is why doesn't it? Because
Well, part of it is
oh yeah, here you go. I love this. This is the line.
okay. Yeah.
This is the receding line. This is the line. What do you call it? The
Where the water was.
yeah, it's the
The
tide line.
waterfront. Yeah.
Yeah, man. So I mean,
Wow.
what are we even talking about right now?
Yeah. I agree
Like,
with
really,
you, man.
this shouldn't. I mean, listen, I like Ed, I like Demetrius, I like you, I like Josh, Brian Granger, all you guys that I've had on the podcast so far that are down there in Panama City, trying to make a difference. Like, dude, I gotta agree. I mean, I'm sorry, and I know people are gonna be like, "Oh, I'm done listening to your show." Good, go find another show to go watch. But the thing about it is I'm in complete agreement. I don't know what we're talking about. Why are we even having discussions on this? This is the dumbest thing to talk about.
I do agree. I think that in terms of the benefits, they far outweigh the cons. One of the huge benefits of this project is trees, and again, it's talked about substantially by the naysayers of this project.
I also like Robbie Hughes. I'm sorry.
That will be taking out a whole bunch of trees. Well, the simple fact is, yes, we are. But guess what? They're going to put back every single tree they take out plus 107. We have a net gain of, I believe it's 105 or 107 trees. Now we're taking out two of the trees we are removing are 100-year-old oak trees, big huge oak trees. Do you know how many we're going to put back in its place? 28 of the trees that will be put on Beach Drive will be oak trees. So in terms of the benefits, again,
that's going to help the erosion immensely.
When you are a public official, you have to make decisions that far outseed your term, that far outseed your life. Okay, we have to program in what our area and what our future will look like for generations to come. And when I look generations ahead, I want to see a path on Beach Drive. And these trees and this incredible improvement, which is what I think it is, will be incredibly beneficial, and it will be something that this area is well known for a long, long time. And it's hard for people to see the vision right now, especially with all the noise. There's so much noise around this project of just total bullshit, quite frankly, misinformation about what is actually happening with the project. And the truth is that we're not taking anybody's private property. They have gone above and beyond to try to be transparent and to go around and to cater to the homeowners that have problems with the path. And the city has kept an open and honest conversation with these homeowners as well to make sure that they have been included. anytime a Beach Drive homeowner has ever come to a city meeting to speak, if they run out of time, they are given the opportunity to have more time. That we are not silencing anybody. This is, in my mind, a non-issue. And the people of my ward, who I speak to when I'm out knocking on doors, want this project. It is an overwhelming approval. Now, the whole city, I don't know. We'll have to see.
The people that are making a big deal about it is a very, very small percentage.
Right. I really
Sorry.
Yeah.
I hate to be it. They're outnumbered. If you don't like it, go find somewhere else to move. There's plenty of opportunity out on Panama City Beach. We've got plenty of homes that are up for sale in Lynn Haven. Go find somewhere else to live. But I got news for you. Like, you don't own the property that they are wanting to put the path in. And if you don't like it, listen, I get it. We don't like change. Well, guess what? The same people that live on Beach Drive, don't quote me on this. The same people that live on Beach Drive have lived through the same boom that's out on the beach. Like, I remember when I first moved here in the 1990s,
Right.
in 1993, I mean, being a little kid walking up and down the beach, but you could drive down Panama City Beach, you could see the freaking water. We've seen, it's like, all the progress that's going down there. If you were to sit there today, and listen, I've been on the other side of the conversation before where I've been like, I'm kind of against destroying our beach because we've put in so many condos.
Right.
But dude, you can't have one without the other. If we didn't have tourism, we wouldn't have anything.
Yeah.
So if you want to
It's
know
a
what
give and
progress looks like, you're watching it happen. And so you can either be happy to the fact that you live in a community that is going to have a pathway like this, that is going to connect Panama City with San Andrews and all through.
And by
Be
the way,
thankful that
many
you
people
did-
say that it does not, but you know what? Again, this is long-term vision. The
Yeah.
goal, this is a starting point. It's a starting point to kickstart a larger, project to connect the city over a larger amount of time.
And you should be thankful that you live in a city that is safe enough that would want to put in a path that's going right in front of your.
Ron, just the other day, I'm driving down Beach Drive, and there's a gentleman. It's kind of early morning, and he's with his daughter, who is probably 4 or 5, and he's holding her in his arm, and he's over near the lift station, like right as you enter Beach Drive, and he's waiting to cross to the other side of the street. Now, there's not a crosswalk in that area until much farther down.
Like down by Lake Caroline.
Right. So he is waiting for traffic to cease with his child in his arms so that he can dash across 35 mile an hour traffic on
Which nobody goes that fast.
Exactly. Right. And so, it's dangerous. And I see that happening a lot. I saw the same thing happen farther down with a woman with a dog also, child in her hand and a dog, and, dashing across halfway through because there's not enough crosswalks on there. So in terms of pedestrian safety, it does everything it sets out to do in the referendum. But again, and if nothing else, don't let this be the issue that you vote on, okay? Yeah, because guess what? It's a referendum, and 2 of the candidates in this race have pledged that whatever the public decides, regardless of our opinions, we will go with what the people want, which is,
Well, that's my question to the mayor.
that's my
question to the mayor is if you find out that the people want this thing, are you going to
he's already answered that. He's already answered that.
Well, I'm going to get him on
And he
here on
said no.
that.
He said that he would still fight it, even if it.
Who the hell do you think you are? You literally are saying that you are going.
You would go against the will of the people.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with
That's
you.
some Democrat bullshit. That's some Joe Biden shit.
I
right
am
there.
in support of the project, but I can tell you that if the public came out and they overwhelmingly said no, then I would vote no on it because I'm not in the interest of pushing my interest. I'm in the issue of pushing the interest of this area.
Yeah.
And so that's just how it is.
Well, you know why? Because that's what being a public servant
So there
is.
are a lot of people in this race that would love to make this race about this one issue, and they're trying to very hard. But the simple fact is that this is a minor issue compared to many other larger issues that we are facing.
No.
And based on the referendum, we'll know much, much more.
I think it's just like any campaign manager, and it's just like anybody who's ever run for office, they say the same freaking thing. You need 3 points. People can't come up with points that are positive, that shows a vision of the future. People come up with negative points.
About
I want to
now.
talk about Chestnut. I want to talk about the path, and I want to talk about the Marina. Oh, and you know what? for the hell of it, why don't we go ahead and add in the Martin Theater on top of it? So I got 4.
Yeah.
All negative things, all controversial things, but it's very, I've had on multiple candidates, and one of the things that I always want to know is like, what are you going to do with things?
Right.
And several of them have had some great answers, but if the only thing that if everything that you talk about leads back around to the negative aspect
Right.
of what doesn't need to happen, how can I keep progress back from happening?
stopping. Yeah, from
and
happening.
it's like, dude, you're not the right candidate. But
I agree.
I mean that's just that's opinion. But so okay, we beat the hell out of Beach Drive, and
yeah.
I do that when this. Oh my god, dude. Doc is my last candidate that's coming on Friday, and I never want to talk about Beach Drive.
So you're definitely
again.
having him on. That's exciting. I'll be tuned in for that one.
I'll be. He might cancel. But
I hope he
he's
doesn't.
supposed to be.
I hope not, because I'd love to watch that one.
Yeah. So all right. So we talked about the Martin Theater. We talked about Beach Drive. We talked about the fire tax. We talked about the Marina. And we also talked about Harrison Avenue and all the stuff that's going on there. You've given some aspects of things that you want to see happen in your ward. I will ask you though, this is like one of the biggest things, and it's going to wrap around to the next one.
Okay.
But and I've asked every candidate on here, and it seems there's only been a couple that have this. But what is your economic development plan for your ward? Do you have any new business that you would like to see brought into your ward? And expand and be able to help out your ward as far as creating jobs or anything like that?
Absolutely, yeah. Grocery store, number one, absolutely.
Okay.
We got to have a grocery store in Ward 1. I'm a firm believer that each ward should have a grocery store.
Didn't you used to have IGA? Or
We used to have Sunshine.
It was over there in Millville, right?
Well, that's a different
on
one. We used to
98?
have, that was a different place as well. I don't know if I was alive for IGA or not, but
I don't know if it was IGA.
but there's one we did have when I was a kid. It was Sunshine.
You're right. There is not a grocery store down there.
That's what I'm saying. Dollar General, there was it was at one time a Sunshine, which was more of a grocery store than a Dollar General is, but still, it's not a Walmart. It's I mean, it's not a grocery store. And something that a lot of people don't know about Dollar General is, let's just get off on a little tangent here, because I don't like Dollar General. Let me tell you why.
Hey, there's an empty lot over there. Dollar General's going to be there.
Yeah,
in the next
they're going to be there in a second. For those who do not know, because for a long time I did not know, let me explain to you how a Dollar General works. A bunch of corporate people in a boardroom sit and they locate a low-income area that doesn't have a grocery store in it. And they go in and they put a Dollar General or a couple in that ward in place of a grocery store, because the idea is that if you have to leave your house to go get, groceries, milk, whatever, you will travel a shorter distance to pay more money. So you will travel to Dollar General on Harrison Avenue or Cherry Street, or there's another one, isn't there? Maybe Millville has one. I don't know, but they're all over the place.
Yeah, they are.
And the problem is that they overcharge on a lot of the products that like a Walmart or some other big store, Piggly Wiggly, would charge cheaper for. So it's the illusion that you are getting a cheaper price, but in actuality you are not. And they come in to these low-income areas to prey on people that do not have the financial means to support themselves. Dollar General, they're on a lease right now in the Cove at the shopping center. And when that lease is over, I would love to see maybe a grocery store in that plaza. And how we would accomplish that, I'm not sure. Again, possibly public-private partnerships. The Kramers at one time wanted to put a gas station and a type of convenience area on the opposite side as well. But right there where the Dollar General Plaza is, as well as that piece across the street as well, that's a pretty prime place to put a grocery store in my mind. But Ward 1 definitely needs a grocery store, no doubt.
So crazy story.
And not a Publix either. Let me say this also. I think Publix is too expensive. I wouldn't want to see a Publix in my neighborhood. I mean, do you shop at Publix?
I do.
I shop at Walmart and
I stop by
Piggly Wiggly.
Publix
I like Publix for their
every
meat.
single
For their
day.
meat. But I don't know
Oh
that
no, I don't go there for my meat. I go to I shop
sandwich
at Tyndall.
meat. Let me be clear.
okay,
Sandwich meat.
Yeah, Border's Head, bro.
Piggly Wiggly though on their meat. If you're looking for good
Yeah.
meat, that's the place to
Piggly
be.
Wiggly's good. I get most of my meat on Tyndall Air Force Base. I go to the commissary, and I pretty much go over there twice a month, and I'll fill up my
When my
freezer.
grandmother was still alive, she had my grandfather's Tyndall membership.
Yeah.
So we went out there a lot and went
Yeah.
shopping out there
Well, everything's tax
until
free
she passed away. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I do. I stop by Publix pretty much every day. My wife complains about it consistently. She's like, I see all these charges, like $35 here, $15
Well, see,
there.
and that's
'cause
and again, I like Publix, but
Yeah.
but again, I want to see a local grocery store. I want to
I'd
see.
like to see that too.
I would really like to see affordable pricing. I am one thing about Daniel Shultz. I am not interested in bending over for big business. I'm not interested in taking handouts from corporate America. We need to rely on each other, and we need to rely on this area and ourselves. That's part of the reason that I'm concerned about our financials is because if some catastrophe were to happen, the only option that we would have is to turn to the federal government for help, which right now it's all up in arms. Who knows? So we need to be maximizing our resources to rely on each other instead of big business and outside interests. And this is a perfect example of that.
So I used to live in your ward.
Mm-hmm.
When I first graduated high school, my first apartment was right there at Bay Anchor Apartments,
Oh,
right
okay.
there across the street from the Cove.
Yeah, man.
So when you talk about that grocery store down there by where Dollar General is now, and then of course there's a laundromat that was there.
Yep, dude.
I used to.
That laundromat, it's now Del Mundo, isn't it? Or
I had no idea.
I
Bro,
think
I
they
haven't
might have
been over
even
in there.
tore it down, even. But when I was a kid, I used to go rifle through the machines and find spare chains that people had left in the Cove. So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I used to use that laundromat because we didn't have the hookups for like washer and dryer in the apartment that we had, and so I used to be in that laundromat once a week doing
Yeah,
laundry.
man.
But yeah, so I know that area a little bit. Let me tell you a funny story about Dollar General though.
Please do.
A couple of years ago, I was when I was in the Army. Me and my wife, we traveled from Fort Campbell, Kentucky, down to go visit her dad, who lived in Lynchburg, Tennessee. So it's about an hour and a half drive from Fort Campbell. And we were headed down there, and we were going through Nashville. It was raining really, really bad. Like the rain was coming down, and the traffic was stupid. There was a couple wrecks. And so the GPS took me on an alternate route. I had no idea where we were at.
Right.
And I started looking down at so we were in the middle of nowhere, like south of Nashville. Man, I'm talking like the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And I'd never been down this road before. My wife didn't know. And I was like, babe, we are getting low on gas. We were low. It was
Right.
like, you have 10 miles until you run out. And I'm like, oh, we aren't coming up on anything.
Yeah.
And dude, I mean, I'm saying on both sides of this road, going 80 miles an hour for like
Forever.
for like 30, 45 minutes out in the middle of nowhere, no gas stations, no nothing. Boom,
Dollar General.
General.
Yep.
And it's like,
Dude, when I lived in Tallahassee, that's the way Tallahassee operates because a lot of their, grocery stores, there's Publix, in Tallahassee, like in the college area near campus. But the Walmarts and stuff are like all on the outsides. So there's a lot of like Dollar General and Publix around. So it's, it's just price gouging. I mean, it's just trying to get you to spend more money, in that area. And that's why they strategically place them where they do. But, I think in terms of economic development for Ward 1, grocery store is essential. That, that's a top priority.
and that
of
creates
mine.
jobs.
Definitely. Absolutely. It does.
And it creates jobs on a local level to where you're not sharing it. Any other type of ideas as far as that goes other than a
Man,
grocery store?
I don't have any per se, but I can tell you that, I want to be in my community more than anybody else, and so I want to be open to hear the, at 21, I'm well aware that there's a lot I don't know. And so I want to be a commissioner who is just as good at listening as he is making decisions. And so if there are other economic needs, ideas or means of us drawing a development into toward one, I'm totally open to them.
So what are the people saying in your ward right now when you knock on the door? What is their biggest concerns?
Well, it's different. If you talk to people in the Cove, it's different from that of the people in Millville. It's two different things. If you talk to the people in the Cove, the top priorities are spending, infrastructure. Infrastructure will always be the top priority, no matter what. I feel like I don't even have to say that. We all know that infrastructure is the number one problem this entire area faces always, no matter what. But also, the Marina, that's a very big, issue that people are talking about. They don't want to see it look not like home. They don't want to see, major developments from some outside interest that doesn't have any interest in this area. Are you familiar with the Sonnenblick debacle that happened a few years ago?
I am not.
So there was a gentleman, I don't know if his name was Sonnenblick or if that was his company, but it was a proposal that was put forth by the city to partner with him to essentially develop the entire marina and to just commercialize the entire marina. I mean, I don't know all the specifics, but you would have to look it up. But this is where Doc Rowan got his start with the Save the Marina stuff, was with the Sonnenblick, because and I'm sure he'll talk about that when he's on. Ask him about it. But it was a real opportunity for our area to lose the marina and to have it all private. I mean, that was a real possibility that was up in arms, and it was stopped. And the public has been weary ever since of something like that happening. The closing of the boat ramp and the moving of it to Snug Harbor. There's this very big idea, and whether it's true or not, I don't know. But there's a concern from my citizens that the plan was to close the Panama City Marina boat ramp and to only have Snug Harbor, which is in Millville. That's not something that I would ever support, but that's a major concern I hear often. Is what's your thoughts on the boat ramp, which is always that I want it to stay open and free and public parking free for the citizens who use it. I mean, we're a fishing village, and people are really upset that we are no longer that. That we have allowed ourselves to just forget about that part of our history.
So I'm going to bring up another question. This is my last topic, unless you got some other things that you want to talk about. I want to talk about ethics.
That's a good one.
So we kind of hit on it. We hit on corruption and things like that. But I kind of want to dive back down into it. We talked about how the mayor kind of attacks without any facts and just kind of goes on these rants. But when it comes to ethics, is there anything that you're seeing that might just be out of the ordinary with the city right now?
Not to my knowledge. I mean, let's not mistake incompetence for malice. Okay, so that happens a lot. A lot of times we mismanage things or we make poor choices, and then it's assumed to be malicious. I'm sure that does happen, but I think a lot of times is that our city just has conflicting opinions about what should be accomplished. Personally, I have not seen any corruption myself, none whatsoever. If I saw it, I would call it out in a heartbeat. But from my eyes, as a citizen who has been involved, there are things that don't always make sense. But I could not. I wouldn't feel right, Ron.
So as far as
making a like a claim like the mayor has made, I wouldn't feel comfortable making those types of claims about any of our staff or anyone unless I had real proof of that.
So looking at the bidding process and how that works, looking at how, like these bids, you only have like 2 companies that come in, or
Or
sometimes
one.
even one.
The Martin was a one bid
Yeah,
project.
yeah. So like that type of stuff, that looks really off.
I do agree with that. Yeah,
So
I do agree.
a lot of people don't like this, but I really don't care. I mean, you can shove it. That's for all I care. But this is the whole thing about it is, it's like, perception is reality.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whether or not you can slice it, dice it, however you want, perception is reality. So when you look at those types of things like that, it's really hard to kind of turn an eye and be like, there's probably nothing going on weird there. But I think that there's a little bit bias.
Let me talk about that.
Okay.
But also, perception is reality. Let's relate that to how the CRA just spent like $180,000 on street signs for downtown. Okay, that is another perfect example. Not that I'm against beautiful street signs, but again, we're prioritizing beautification in many, many areas where we should be prioritizing key infrastructure and public use. They spent that money at the same time that the city and the treasurer is messaging that we're broke. Now, you and I know that CRA money is separate. CRA money is separate. It's not in the same pot. We know that. Do you think the general public knows that? No, they do not.
Well, that's why you got a bunch of people that are sitting there talking
This
about.
is my point. Perception is reality.
Yeah.
And if the city would get better, did you know that Panama City has one person on staff for communication? Just one. We have one person that's a full-time employee
not
for
good at it.
communication.
Well, do you know about? So Brian Granger came on. He said one of his biggest problems that he looked at. Don't quote me. Go watch the episode.
sure.
But he did say that like there's I guess it's like an app or a program that is used for these guys to bid. And he's like, if I had to change anything about it, and one of the problems that I have with it is the fact that I have to pay for this app to be able to put in a bid.
See, I didn't know that. Yeah.
Well, would you implement a better process to where these guys aren't having to pay for that? And would you encourage more contractors to get in on the bidding on the local level? Because, listen, contractors, they know whether or not they want to be part of the bid process anyway. 'Cause there's a lot of people that are like, I really don't want to do work with the city. So
Right.
there's that. But I think that there needs to be an encouragement.
Huge
that's
problem
there.
also is that, part of the reason why we don't get bids is because people don't want to work with the city.
Because it's the red tape issue.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we can cut some of that to make it easier for people to work with us, I'm all for that. In terms of the bidding process, it would be very hard for me to ever okay a project that only had one bid. Period. Okay. So if a project had one bid, for example, the Martin had one bid, send it back out to bid. And if
do you
there's
have
a problem,
the power to do that as a commissioner?
yes, you do.
Oh,
yeah, absolutely. The commission can send it back out to bid anytime. Yeah. But I don't believe that a one bid project is effective. And it doesn't look transparent.
Doesn't look
Transparency, what did we just say about, perception is reality, And so, Ed has offered a 3 bid minimum. At one time, I believe he had a 5. 5 is,
Five's a little.
you'll never get 5 bids. You just won't,
not on
okay?
everything.
And anybody who understands local government knows that you won't get 5 bids. It just won't happen.
I think 3 is good though.
3 is a very good number, but you should always, at the very minimum, strive for 2. Period. End of story.
Right.
I would not okay a project with 1 bid. That would be very, very hard.
I think it should be
for me to
mandatory
do.
that there would have to be one that's not even a local company, because for the longest time we saw
To kind of get an idea
Well,
of what it actually
for
costs.
the longest time at the county level, what you had is you had contractors that would go behind closed doors and they would sit there and they'd be like, okay, well, you bid on the project. I'm going to bid on the project. You're going to get the bid, and then you're going to sub my company out.
Right.
So they all work together to be able to get these projects, so they
Right.
could pretty much charge whatever they want.
Right.
That was when we did away with locals preference. So the county got wise on that, and they took it away.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure that's the same way at the city now because you don't get preference just because you're a local company.
Right.
There for the longest time you did.
Right.
But I think there should be companies that we reach out to and other counties, other states,
Surrounding areas, yeah.
surrounding areas to be able to
provide
come
some
in
type of a
because there needs to be that competition. Because if you have
reference point.
if you have the contractors that are sitting here that are driving the market on what they think that it should be based on their own little perception of whatever.
Which is exactly what's happened on the Martin, I guess, because there's a one bid project. I mean, there's only.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't. I just wouldn't okay.
It looks bad.
It does look bad,
Yeah.
and especially when they break ground and the day that the shovel goes into the ground, it goes over bid.
Yep.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
So
Oof.
that just doesn't, to me, that doesn't sit right. And again, perception is a reality, and we need to make sure that we are sending a good message to the public, and that doesn't look good.
Well, Daniel, you have how well spoken you are and how you're able to kind of explain things is crazy for a 21-year-old.
I try my best. I mean, 21, I have accomplished more than anybody else at 21 who I know. It's rare to have a bachelor's at 21. It's rare to have graduated from college with no debt. It's rare to be 21 and involved in local politics. It's rare to have stopped the paid parking ordinance through an entire grassroots movement by one individual.
Yeah, getting the community behind somebody at that age.
That is something that I was, incredibly proud of. Was that, it was clear that the commissioners had not been downtown. As much as I love Jenna, she just hadn't spoken with the same business owners that I spoke with, and we have to have a commissioner who is committed to listening to what the downtown district needs. Ward 1, that is our biggest asset. And I don't know how anybody could be in this office if you are not dedicated to promoting downtown, which I have proven time and time again that I am in terms of paid parking. And then in terms of my music, I'm downtown regularly. I will be downtown Friday night. I'll be at, I'll throw up the little plug here for a music gig. I'll be at Bookish Boutique from 6 to 8. I'm downtown regularly, and I love it so much, and I feel such a deep connection with the people there. Ron, when I was a little boy, we didn't come downtown ever. Okay, now I lived just a couple blocks
It was
away.
too rough.
It was too rough. Yeah, man. And especially not after night. Oh, you didn't dare come down after night. Okay. The only time that we ever came to downtown was for Friday Fest. Friday Fest was the big draw, and that was the same thing every month. It was hot rod cars and the same vendors that had been there every other month. So as a kid, that wasn't exciting. Now, dude, you walk downtown, you might see a spontaneous football game with a bunch of kids at the Center for the Arts on that front piece of grass. Or you might see, people walking their dogs at 3 a.m. in McKenzie Park because they live downtown. The downtown that we knew when we were kids is long gone. Our downtown is alive and it's thriving. And, I'm shocked to find out how many people don't know that, because there's still a lot of people who have this perception that downtown is a waste of money and that it's, dead. It's not. It is not. It is a huge asset, and it's I'm one that has to be well taken care of, because you have to recognize that with something like a downtown, it's not like we put money in and then it just came back. That's not what happened. We tried to invest in our downtown area multiple times over, years to try to launch it in the way that it is right now, and it failed every single time. If you lose a few key businesses on Harrison Avenue, think about what keeps downtown alive. Some of the really popular places. If you were to lose one or two of those places, you could lose the whole project. It could all go belly up. If you are not careful in promoting business and promoting local growth, just as quickly as this thing has arisen, it could go away in a heartbeat. And so we need someone who is committed to listening to the needs of the business owners.
Wow, man. Inspiring.
I try to be.
I appreciate having you on, man.
Yeah, Ron.
And
Thank you for having me on,
Yeah,
man.
man.
You know, like I said, you know, I'm proud to be the most accessible person in this race. You can look me up and see where I stand on everything. I'm happy that I was able to answer all the hot button topics here and just have myself, you know, in one interview. You know, it's all here. Also, you can just watch this interview and know where I stand on everything. Also, so I'm thankful for what you're doing for this area. Also,
Thanks, man.
yeah,
Appreciate
man.
it.
Appreciate you, Ron.
Yep.